Right. So when we are working on the Guidewire testing part, so here is one of the business scenario that we are going to discuss today, because whenever we are working on the Guidewire testing, especially from the billing perspective, uh, it's not only about the testing part, because normally testing too, one is about the manual testing part that you'll be learning, followed by automation testing. The automation testing has some limitations, but when it comes to the manual testing, where we can prepare some test cases, etc., all that stuff. In that regard, it is required for one to understand about a couple of business scenarios. This is something useful when we have applied for any job opportunities. At the same time, when we want to work as a guideware tester role, as a billing role. So these things are essentially needed. These things are essentially required. So in that scenario, I've taken one business scenario. So wherein that here we are using a system like Guidewire Billing, integrating with the Guidewire Policy Center is something that we have taken. So these are the different business context we have, because customer wants to purchase auto policy, like wherein the annual premium is somewhere around 12,000 rupees, Indian rupee. At the same time, the payment plan the person has taken is about the 12 monthly installment, right? So monthly he wants to pay equal installment, like that he wants to pay for 12 months for 1 year. This is the payment plan that customer has taken, because in the Guidewire Billing Center, uh, we'll have the options for administration, wherein we'll go there and we can identify what are the different payment plans. So configuring the payment plan, something which developer do. So once we have configured the billing plan, whatever the payment plan we have taken for the particular policy, sometimes there can be a 3 months down payment. Rest of the amount will be paid as an installment. There can be an option for 6 months down payment. Rest of the amounts can be paid as an installment. And one more option can be the payment plan where he wants to pay, customer wants to pay the annual premium, even right from the month onwards, he wants to pay in the equal installments, 12 monthly installments. Now, what kind of payment method a customer has taken, right? Payment method, something like auto debit with annual clearing houses, means automatically on the particular date, automatically the amount will be debited from the account, okay? Because we have to give a clearance for ACH by providing all our bank details, etc. So automatically it will be cleared. So this is a payment method customer has chosen that must be configured in the application itself. Now, here is a scenario you want to know, because this is a common process. Whatever the process just now I have detailed, this is a common process. But consider there is a situation where customer after 4 months, customer wants to add a new vehicle to the existing one. Means auto policy he has taken. As of now, whatever the premium that we have calculated and given is only 12,000. That is only confined to only one particular vehicle. Now the policy customer has paid the premium. We have given the policy document was shared already. So after 4 months, customer wants to add a new vehicle to the existing one. Means that's what generally we call it as endorsement in terms of the policy centrist concept. Because one is creation of policy, means new policy creations. Cancellations, if there is any non-payment or any other reason, non-cancellations will be taken care of. The third about renewals, means every year on year renewals will be there. That is point number 3. Third about endorsements. Endorsement means any new changes you are making into the existing one. In this condition here, it's an endorsement where customer is want to add a new vehicle to the existing one. Now, when customer has added a new vehicle, that vehicle can be a old vehicle, that can be a new vehicle also, right? So depends on the type of vehicle, depends on the year of manufacturing. So premium is increased to 18,000 annually. Okay, this is the scenario, right? So now what billing schedule has to be done? Billing has to reschedule and billing has to be scheduled, right? So all these must be scheduled by the system. Billing schedule must be recalculated. So what should be the premium? Because earlier it was 12,000, now we are moving into 18,000, right? And premium has increased to 18,000 annually. So how the system has to recalculate the schedule? This is something which has a business scenario that one should understand from the Guidewire Billing, from the testing perspective I'm referring. It can be even related even for developer roles as well as for business analyst roles also, because scenarios are for any kind of role that we are playing remains the same. It is nothing to confined only to a testing role. Even we work as a business analyst or we are working as a developer or tester and all, scenario remains the same. But here billing schedule must be recalculated is something that from the testing perspective, learning is different. When it comes to the business analyst and all, understanding the requirements must be the major focus. What requirements we have taken and how are we documenting it, how are we writing user stories. If you are seeing this from the developer point of view, how this should be configured, because how the premium calculations, recalculations should be done. And for that, what changes that we want to be made in the developer studio. That is something developer will focus more on from the implementation side. But end of the day, scenario, as I stated, scenarios remains the same. This is the particular scenario. And first of all, we must be knowing about the workflow process. What is the end flow? One must be good with. This is an end flow where the functional flow started with the policy issuance, because whenever the policy issued in the policy center to the customer, so automatically that way the billing instructions will be sent to the billing center. So the billing team will receive the details and all, so that they can create an account for the customer. Billing account will be created, for provided customer has bind the policy, because whenever quotation is given, customer has binded and accepted with the quotation, so that account can be created based on the receiving whatever billing center team has received. Based on that, account creation will be created. So once account is created, the next installment plan generation will be taken place, because here you see, because there is a payment plan which is about 12 monthly installments, where 1000 per month, right? So that is the installment that we are generating, so that the first invoice will be produced initially. So this is a technical, this is a functional flow from irrespective of the kind of role. Again, I'm repeating, this is not something confined to any role, but end of the day, the functional flow is required. So if I am a business analyst, for example, I must be knowing about the functional flow. For that, whatever the required changes and how these requirements to be taken for the functional flow, I will be understood. If I am a developer, I need to understand the functional flow to develop a business logic. If I am a tester, the functional flow I must be knowing, wherein I want to prepare a test case for that, because in terms of the manual testing perspective, we have to prepare a test case for that. So this functional flow is essentially required. So because unless until if you are not good at the functional flow, as in when I mentioned you here, because if you are not good at functional flow, then things will be difficult for us to perform the further activities and all that. Okay. So this is what generally the functional flow was. If this is a functional flow, what kind of test cases we want to write? So for example, these are the scenarios. For example, policy scenario, policy issue is one of the scenario. Customer is expecting that account created in the billing center. Automatically, what should happen whenever there is any kind of policy is created, account creation in billing center can be done. Okay, it has to be done, right? So that is what the expected result customer is expecting. That is what something from a team, both functional and technical team, we must ensure. Okay, if it was not the case, for example, else, right? Else condition, if it was not the one as it is expected result, automatically condition will be considered as failed once the functionality is developed, so that whatever the bugs were identified, that has to be recalculated and working on it. That's how generally it works and all that. So expected result, normally there will be an actual result also. Expected result, what customer is expecting, what customer wants to see. Actual result is what team has developed. Both should be the same. Then only the test condition is considered as pass. Otherwise, it is considered as a failure. Right. So this is where one scenario. So to create the scenarios, when we follow the traditional model, we have test case templates which are available that can be seen. If you follow the agile model, when it comes to agile scrum and all, in Jira we have a tool called Jiffer scale. So using that Jiffer scale, we can we should know about how to write the scenarios and all, right? So understanding the practical understanding over how to create test case scenarios, etc. Everything we have to learn. So learning about both these two things are more important. So second, installment plan. Plan is a scenario based on the installments that we have already agreed upon. So 12 invoices will be generated on the particular day. Why? Because this is nothing to do with manual process. Even though human intervention is involved, it's nothing to do with manual process, because 12 invoices are generated for a particular time, particular date. Why? Because customer has agreed upon the ACH. Okay, ACH auto debit option has created by the customer on the particular date in a month. So automatically 12 invoices has to be generated based on the investment plan of the scenario. So system has to generate 12 invoices based on the payment plan. That is point number 2. Point number 3, due date validation. Due date validation means correct billing cycle will be applied. So due date validation, etc. For example, on the particular month, so and so date is the due date. So based on that, correct billing life cycle will be applied upon. So these are the major few scenarios one should understand. Okay, these are the 3. And apart from that, one more scenario, as I stated here, the second about the invoice generation, batch invoices, so that whatever the PDF is created, etc., everything we have to be performed. This is step 1. Second, about the step 2, right? So step 2 is a payment process here, wherein we have a payment allocation plan where customer has to pay first 4 installments successfully. So when customer has paid first 4 installments successfully, there must be 2 validations has to happen. One is the functional validation part. Second is a technical validation. Functional validation means whatever the payments that are posted correctly, or whatever the account balances that we are updating, or the kind of invoice status, that should be shown as a paid one. At the same time, no delinquency triggered. What is delinquency? Delinquency means assume that there is a due date on a particular date. If it is paid on or before that due date, then it's fine. Otherwise, it will be moved into the delinquency status. So here, customer has paid for first 4 installments successfully without any failure or so. So the functional validation, wherein it will be considered, we have to validate that no delinquency is triggered here. If there is any one late payment and all, one delinquency will be triggered for one payment. If it is 2, it is 2. Next, technical validation. Technical validation, wherein billing center payment table has to be updated accordingly based on the invoices that we have generated. So payment table has to be updated. Payment status table has to be updated. At the same time, invoices status should also be updated. So these 2 are should be updated in the technical validation part. Okay, technical validation, it has to be updated. Next, auto clearing houses batch files has to be generated subsequently regarding this, provided if there is no delays, no delinquencies we found. If there is any kind of delinquencies we found, the same thing will be updated even in the payment table. At the same time, in the invoice status stated that delay in the particular payment on the particular day. At the same time, auto clearing house, right? So clearing house batch files will also be generated in this. So this is the second step we should understand. The third step about midterm endorsements, etc. So midterm endorsements means whenever there is any kind of premium has increased. For example, here, if you can see in the beginning of the session, I told you old premium is 12,000. Now, new premium is 18,000. Okay, this is the new premium we have taken. Now, if you taken 12 months, monthly one, which is 12 months, 4 installments customer has paid. Now, customer wants to add a new vehicle. How many remaining amounts we have? Remaining months are somewhere around 8 months we have. So now, when there is any new installment or new monthly installment, you want to adjust this accordingly. So you have to calculate based on the premium that we are calculating. Based on that, expected behavior has to be initiated. In this expected behavior, it should be of few things. One is about unearned premium recalculations. That must be one expected behavior, because unearned premium recalculation, because earlier it was only 12,000, now it was increased to 18,000. So unearned premium recalculation should be the expected rate system has to show. Second, remaining installment amount updated. Okay, there are some 8 months of remaining balance payments customer has supposed to pay. That is all comes under the remaining amount updated. Based on the new vehicle as added, automatically what will happen right from the 5th invoice date onwards, whatever the amount of 18,000 for the new invoice schedule has to create, so that we must make sure there should not be any kind of duplicate invoices created further. So these are the major steps one should understand. Even from the testing perspective, this is testing. From the developmental perspective, as in scenario itself is different. What kind of business logic that is to be applied, we have to see from that direction. If we are a business analyst, for this, what requirements we have taken and how this can be written in a user story format or something that we must be good with. This is what something, one particular scenario one should understand, because it's not only simply learning Guidewire, it can be policy center or billing or claims, right? So not just learning on a high level note, right? So knowing about the screen, knowing about some basic stuff of Guidewire developer or basic stuff of Guidewire development like PCF files, database, it's not sufficient, right? So end of the day, we need to have some understanding over the scenarios, because when we go for an interview, people will always expect you to have, because we whenever we had experience when we clean, always customer expect you to employer or interviewer expect you to explain some scenarios. So that scenario based learning is always important. This is what this particular stick is all about.